Wow.
I know.
I know. That's
And
unbelievable.
after semester tests too. Oh,
Exactly.
we're going. All
That's
right.
okay.
Excellent.
My name is Chris Slay, and I'm the evaluator today. This again is Barb Pursoon, the career educator. Hi, Barb.
Good to see you today, Chris.
Good to see you also. I know it's been a while since we last talked about, the lesson that, I observed. Maybe you could just go over some of the key points of the lesson that you taught that day.
Sure. We were moving from the geometric representation of vectors to the algebraic one. And we had a little project where we would measure things out using a protractor and ruler, our vectors. And then after we got that done, then we looked at it algebraically and tried to come up with the exact same values and saw how maybe using numbers was a little easier, a little more precise than actually using the geometric. And it was definitely a hands-on project. It lets kids draw some conclusions that they like, that they can do. I tried to lead a little bit, not say this is what we do. So, and for the most part, outside of having wished I had intravenous coffee for him that morning, it was a decent lesson.
Yes, it was. I noticed, again, those higher order thinking skills, and also that had excellent wait time. You just didn't accept their answer. You always wanted to know why.
I do.
Exactly.
Why can you say that? Please expound.
Please expound upon that, right? Now, when we talked a little bit in our post-conference, you expressed kind of a desire to implement a strategy dealing with inquiry-based learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd like to kind of develop that just a little bit so that we can perhaps develop it into an individual teacher professional development plan.
I'd really like that, because I really think, particularly with my math and science together, I really think that that's a better way to teach mathematics sometimes, which is not usually what they do, but I really like taking that. I would like to learn how to take that a little bit better, because it makes much more sense to me for the kids. That it gives them something to link it to, and it gives me something to link it to. Remember when we did this, not just remember problem number 27. I think it gives them a much better, and it gives them, like I said, more hooks inside the head so they can find it better. That gives them, I don't know, however their brain works.
Yeah.
It's gives them something else to match it to.
I know, because some of the kids are much more visual learners and they're much more active learners, than they are.
And that's me, and so that's what works best for me
Yeah.
too. So that's why I want to go that direction.
I know, that's exactly the way I am also. Now, it's probably we probably already just answered this question,
Mm-hmm.
but again, what is the most exciting about implementing inquiry-based learning in your class?
Well, for one thing, besides the fact that I like it, I think that it gets the kids' interest. They're not bored. They are on. They are on task. They are doing it because they're interested. And if they're interested, number one, we're not going to have any classroom management problems. Not that there's a whole lot of them in that class, but they're going to be on task. They're going to be learning, and they're going to be making the discoveries, which of course makes it so much more near and dear to their hearts. So that's what I like about it, is making it come alive. Making math come alive, which is not the easiest thing in the world to do. Physics, yes. Math, not so much sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is what drove me from calculus, is when I could stop applying it. When it stopped applying to what I could make it, I stopped liking calc.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah, trying to make it more, towards what they will actually experience in life.
Mm-hmm. I think that says it well.
Yeah. What would be any concerns about implementing the goal of,
Oh my gosh, finding the projects is the hardest thing. Going online and trying to find things, or you go online, they say, oh, this is such a good one, and you look at it, it requires 6 different pieces of equipment that you don't have, or,
Sure.
Decent weather that you can go outside to do, and when you teach this, it's in the middle of January, so you're not going outside. So that's part of it, is find the projects. Finding the right questions to ask is another big one. You don't want to tell them, you want them to discover, but you have to set them along the right path,
Right.
way of thinking. So getting good questions is going to be key to that also. Once you get the idea, getting the good questions, I
That's
think.
right. Exactly. What type of changes will you need to make to introduce inquiry-based learning in your classroom?
Well, I'm already trying to lead that way, especially with the upper level classes. I let them break up into self-decided groups to work on projects, to work on homework together. I encourage them to argue with each other about the problems. I'm trying to get away from there's one exact right way to do it, or there's one exact right way of thinking. I like the divergent ways of thinking. So when somebody says, "Oh, I was looking at it this way," "Hey, you come up the board. I want to see this doing it," and then we name it Chris Ramirez's way of doing,
Sure.
because that's what happened when we were doing identity proofs in trig. Chris said, "I have a much better way of doing this," and I said, "Come and show us," and he did, and about a third of the class said, "We like his way better." So for the past 4 years, I've been teaching Chris's way as well,
That's
and
great.
we call it Chris Ramirez's way.
That's great. That's outstanding. What are the first steps that we need to take to implement inquiry-based learning?
Well, obviously the research. I'm going to have to go watch videos, read books, look for. I didn't see too much. I was at the science math conference this last fall, and I really didn't see too much in that way, but hopefully there'll be something there that would encourage it. Being a science teacher helps, because
Sure.
Sometimes I can say, "Ooh, that's a cool lab. I bet you I could adapt that to math class."
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
the stuff that Craig does in biology in anatomy with the ratios of the body.
Mhm.
We did that in stats class. That was really good. And we did it for doing scatter plots and finding the line of regression and everything. But that's not what he uses it for. But that's what we used it for. And it was a good lesson that time. It wasn't really inquiry based. It was just an application. But I'm going to have to do some research. Let's face it. Maybe find some teachers. When I used to teach at Colfax, the physics teacher taught inquiry based. And maybe I can go back and talk to him and say, and I did talk to him a little bit, but go a little more in detail and say, what are some of your suggestions? Where did you get some of your information? That sort of stuff, and
Sure.
kind of do a one-on-one with him.
Yeah, I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel. We got somebody
Please,
that
no.
basically has good information, good labs that involve that.
Yeah.
It would be excellent to be able to take advantage of that. How do you feel inquiry-based learning will fit in with the district and building goals?
Well, if I'm trying to learn it better and deeper, I think it asks more higher level thinking questions, and that's part of our goals. It should increase the number of kids who are above the 40th percentile. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times those are the kids that are bored and aren't paying attention because they don't get it the ordinary way.
Sure.
First do step A and then do step B and then do step C, and they're going, "Oh, really? Really? I don't even know where you were. You lost me at step A," and then they just shut down. But if they're actually having to do something with other people together, then maybe that will click a little bit better with them.
Right.
So I'm hoping that will help us with our building.
Yeah.
Also with the switch next year to block, I think that will fit in well with block because it does take more time. And it's not just here's the lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, now do problems with it. It is much more time consuming, and that is one of the things against inquiry based a little bit in my mind, is that it is very time consuming, and plus you cannot predict how long it's going to be sometimes.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Depending upon the group that you have,
yeah,
how that they respond to it.
exactly.
Yeah, definitely I feel it does fit in with the building goals, that higher order thinking, trying to get those kids to become more proficient. You know, to do good.
Good luck on that.
I know.
You're asking the wrong woman at the wrong time. We've
Right.
got how many days left of school?
Not many. Not many. Okay, let me ask you this, Barb. What are some things that I can help you with to achieve this goal?
Well, I know that you have had a little bit of a background. You did a little inquiry based at one time, and so you can tell me what are good things to do, what are not good things to do, and say and offer some good suggestions. I mean, I truly respect your knowledge in this area, Chris, and it would be really helpful to me. Come in and watch when I do it sometimes and say, okay, this part went really well. The reason this didn't happen is, I think, is because of this. You know, just a different perspective, a different viewpoint coming from another person whose focus is just on what's happening just with the inquiry instead of
Right.
everything else that I'm doing would be really helpful, I think.
Do you think that if I also pulled in some literature for you,
Yes,
type situation?
because if you go online to Amazon and you put inquiry based, you're going to have this list of
List,
books, and
right.
believe me, I started looking at them, and oh, okay, and you know, I've done that with other things when I was looking at standard based grading. I'd look at it and I'd say, oh, that sounds interesting, and then I'd read the viewer reviews at the end,
Sure, I do that.
and no, they're trashing this book. I guess it isn't that good of a book.
Right.
Now I'll go on to the next one. Or I have found some really good ones, and usually you get the good recommendations when you talk to another teacher that's in that area and say, oh yeah, I like Mirzano, use him.
Right.
He's got good stuff with
Got
this.
some good ideas.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, anything else that you think that I can do? How about some release time like we talked about?
Ho ho ho. Yeah, maybe I could get a release time to go watch my ex-colleague in Colfax, see him teach it, or if I could
Right.
find another teacher that teaches this way. It'd be great if I could find someone doing it in mathematics, but usually it's more of a science-based
Sure.
perspective. They don't usually teach math that way. Although I'm hearing a little bit out of Arizona State University that they might be looking at doing some more of that, because they're the
Okay.
ones that came up with the modeling method for physics. So I'm hoping that maybe they're going to have a little bit more of that with mathematics, because they are starting to move that way a little bit.
Sure.
But that costs an arm and a leg, and I'm probably not going to be doing that. However,
Yes, we can send you down there for personal training.
oh yeah.
That
2
would be
weeks in
true.
sunny Arizona. I tell you what, let's pick out maybe
Pick out
middle of
February,
February, that longest
yeah.
month of the year. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Well, just to give you if I can just take a moment and kind of summarize what, I can actually
Sure.
do to help you is that mainly to give you some release time so that you can go observe a teacher and try to find out what materials that individual has.
Mm-hmm.
And then perhaps, I'll make some inquiries also to see who else is teaching that in physics. I think there are also a couple other people that I've heard of that I've got some contacts with. So,
Yes.
so we'll see if we can't get you into those. And also, I'm going to try to bring in some literature that I know are pretty good informational books if I'm inquiring.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do have some pretty good examples.
That would be really great. I'd
Because-
really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's very difficult, like you said, to be able to find literature
And-
or that perfect website.
Oh, there is no
Where-
perfect
Where
website.
they all claim that this is the best lesson
Yes.
in the world.
Yes. And then you read through it and say, oh my gosh, that is about as stupid as you can get. I'm not going to waste my time with that one.
Exactly. Okay, and if you could just do for me, Barb, the
Mhm.
same thing, if you could summarize what that you will do to achieve, standard-based,
Sure.
not standard-based.
Not standard-based.
Excuse me.
Inquiry based, yes.
Inquiry-based.
Well, I am going to put in some time in researching, reading some good books, like you suggested, and I do hope to look at, watch someone else teach it. I'm going to be looking online and trying to just look through I've got stacks of mathematics teachers back there. I surely can find something out of there, or look on their website too, I guess. For some possible things under inquiry base. I'm going to trying to start integrating them into my lessons. So maybe I'm just going to get a couple of projects, a couple of possible abilities like that in the first quarter or the first semester, just
Sure,
and build on it year after year, sort of thing.
right.
I'm going to be having you come in and watch me make suggestions, because I really think that you can give me some good insights.
Okay,
So, let's see, read, research, observe, try out,
Mhm.
under observations, I do, we do.
We do.
You do. I think that about sums it up.
And of course, as you just mentioned there, this is basically a 3-year goal. It's not like all of a sudden
Oh,
that
gee.
we say to you, oh, by the way, tomorrow we'd like you to have this perfect curriculum set up.
Or even next semester.
Next semester, right?
This fall, we want you to be doing this. Yeah,
That's
no,
it.
I truly appreciate that, because that I would not be too interested in.
Sure.
It would not be achievable.
Right.
I would not be successful in that, and I don't want to do something that I don't foresee myself being successful in.
And that's basically what these individual professional development plans are designed for, is to
Mhm.
extend yourself over maybe a 3-year period, between evaluation cycles.
Mhm.
And then every year to sit down with the evaluator and go over the goal and see how it's going and if it can be tweaked anymore or.
Oh, it will be tweaked.
Oh, yes.
I can assure you of that.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what is going to basically happen next is
Mhm.
that because this is your goal, you're the one that has to write it. I can only give you, kind of our ideas here about inquiry-based,
Mhm.
but you're the one that has to actually sit down and write that goal. And of course, you've already been in service on those beautiful SMART goals,
Yes.
and that's what we want to, want you to involve
Mhm.
that particular style of questioning in.
Okay.
And so,
I think I can do that,
okay.
especially if I get my semester test graded and.
Sure. And that's why when I give you a little bit of time, to write that goal and then submit it for an approval.
I will do that.
Sure. It's really great. Like I've told you before, Barb, I think that you're an outstanding math teacher. You do a great job here.
Well, thank you.
And the kids definitely have total respect for you.
That's nice of you to say. Occasionally, you sometimes doubt that once in a while.
I know. But I just
Out
wanna
in the
make sure
hall.
they do.
What do you think you're doing?
Have to take those different hats and put them on, and sometimes you have to be that mean disciplinarian. But what happens actually in this classroom is actually pretty phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I've worked hard at it.
And thank you for being part of my little project here.
Oh, Chris, I am glad to help you.
Okay.
I'm glad to help you. You have helped me in so many other ways that this is small potatoes.
Okay. Well, thanks, Barb.
Oh, no trouble. Oh, look at